Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and today I'm going to be reviewing Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hocking. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I received an arc of this book when I was at YALLFest and it is coming out tomorrow, January 2nd. If I end up looking down, I have my notes on my phone and they keep auto-rotating, so that's fun. So first off, this is a book about a girl named Malin or Malin. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name. I'm going to call her Malin. And she is a Valkyrie because in this world there are immortal beings that never die, and so some higher power basically tells the Valkyries who is destined to die, and it's the Valkyries' job to go and end their lives. And this is considered a very honorable thing. Like, Valkyries are held in pretty high esteem, and so Malin doesn't really have a choice, but she also, it's all she's ever known and it's what she's been training for her whole life, so she's just kind of accepted the fact that that is what she's doing with her life. She's a Valkyrie. Then stuff happens. So I'm just going to start out by saying that I enjoyed this book. It had some very interesting aspects. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. First off, this book looks like a medieval fantasy. When I saw it at YALLFest, I thought it was a medieval fantasy. It's part of what attracted me to it. Yeah, nothing about it really screams urban fantasy, but it is actually an urban fantasy. Well, not even urban fantasy, it's more of like a sci-fi fantasy. It actually seems to take place in the future, since the main character very casually rides a hover motorcycle. So yeah, this is like a sci-fi fantasy book, and that kind of threw me off a little bit when I opened it and was like, wait, we're not in the Middle Ages, we are quite into the future. I just got some like very high fantasy vibes from this cover. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. This book involves some really interesting mythological creatures that you don't really see in a lot of other urban fantasy books. I liked that while it mentioned vampires, Nephilim, and other supernatural beings that we see all the time, the most well-known supernatural species that plays a big role in the story are the Valkyrie, like our protagonist Malin. And personally, I haven't even read that many YA books involving a Valkyrie. I think the only one I can think of right now is Magnus Chase series. Sam is a Valkyrie in that one. One of my favorite of these creatures is Malin's pet Wolper tiger named Bowie, who is basically a bunny with wings and antlers, and he's just the most precious thing ever, and I want one. But while the world itself had a lot going on and seemed really interesting, I had a hard time connecting with the story and the characters until a good 2/3 of the way into the book. At that point, certain events happened that made Malin go through some internal struggles that she'd apparently been suffering with her whole life, and that made me start to care about Malin as a character. Until that point, I had a hard time connecting with Malin because I didn't really understand her. I feel like if some of her struggles and emotions that she'd been taught were beneath her as a tough Valkyrie, while simultaneously showing all of her efforts to maintain this tough outward persona, had been something that we knew from early on in the story, I would have connected with Malin much sooner and been more invested in her character from the start. I will say that these things were hinted at in the beginning, but not really enough to make me care that much about Malin from the start of the book. I really liked some of the supporting characters in this. Her roommate slash best friend Una and her ex-girlfriend Quinn are my favorites. I also love Atlas, who is not a Valkyrie because Valkyrie are always females, but he like worked in the Valkyrie headquarters place. But he becomes a member of the crew pretty late. But he instantly became one of my favorites because he is hilarious and he offered them snacks. Asher, who is the male love interest in this story, was fine, but he didn't have a whole lot of personality in my opinion. A love triangle was one of the main focuses of the story, but since Malin is bisexual, the love triangle was with her ex-girlfriend Quinn and this new guy she meets, Asher, which made for an interesting dynamic between the characters and not your like usual 2 boys fight over a girl and then she wonders which one she should be with. I mean, she does stand around kind of wondering who she should be with a little bit, but like, it was an interesting dynamic and I liked it, even though I think I'm Team Quinn because I just like her character better. Like I mentioned earlier, this book took a while to get going, but I really enjoyed the last third of it, and I do think it is setting up for quite an interesting series. So once again, I did give this book 3 out of 5 stars, and if you're wondering my exact method for rating, it is really simple. I just follow the 5-star system on Goodreads, where 5 stars is it was amazing, 4 stars is I really liked it, 3 stars is I liked it, 2 stars is it was okay, and 1 star is I didn't like it. So I gave this book 3 stars because I did like it. It was a good book, it just took a while for it to get going for me, and that's why it doesn't have like 4 or 5 stars. But you should definitely read it if you think it sounds interesting. So that's going to be it for this spoiler-free review. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I upload new videos on Mondays, plus the occasional surprise video, so please subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye!